The Little One and the Mysterious Forest. In a small village surrounded by dense forests, there lived a child named Raka. Raka was a curious boy with bright eyes and a smile that always adorned his face. He lived with his parents in a simple wooden house surrounded by green fields and colourful flowers. Every day, Raka spent his time playing outside, exploring nature, and imagining the adventures that awaited him. The forest around the village was known as the Dark Forest, a place where many stories and legends circulated. The villagers often warned the children not to enter the forest, as it was said that there were large creatures living within it. However, Raka never believed in those frightening tales. He always felt that the forest held many wonders and mysteries waiting to be discovered. One sunny morning, Raka decided to explore a part of the forest he had never entered before. With burning enthusiasm, he packed a simple meal and set off towards the forest. As he ventured deeper, the sound of birds chirping and the wind whispering among the trees made him feel as if he were entering a different world. After walking for a while, Raka discovered an open area filled with beautiful wildflowers. He was enchanted by the beauty of nature around him and began to play, running among the flowers while laughing. However, as he ran, Raka did not realize that he was straying further away from the path home. Suddenly, Raka heard a rumbling sound that made him stop. The sound grew closer and his heart raced. He saw a large shadow moving among the trees. As the shadow approached, Raka felt a fear he had never experienced before. From behind the trees emerged a tall and large figure with green skin and softly glowing eyes. The giant looked frightening, but there was something in its gaze that made Raka feel it was not dangerous. The giant, named Guntur, was surprised to see Raka and paused for a moment. Despite his fear, Raka felt curious. He did not run away. Instead, he stood his ground, gazing at the giant with interest. Guntur, confused by Raka's presence, tried to speak in a deep, echoing voice. "Who are you, little one? Why are you here?" Raka, with a trembling voice, replied, "I am Raka. I just wanted to play and explore this forest. Who are you?" Guntur was taken aback by Raka's response. He did not expect this little boy to dare speak to him. "I am Guntur. I live here, far from the village. They are afraid of me, so I never go out." Raka felt pity hearing Guntur's story. He did not want the giant to feel lonely. "I am not afraid of you, Guntur. Maybe we can be friends?" Raka suggested hopefully. Guntur was silent for a moment, then smiled widely, revealing large teeth that startled Raka a little. "Friends? I haven't had a friend in a long time. Will you come back here tomorrow?" Raka nodded enthusiastically. "Of course, I will come back." With mixed feelings of fear and excitement, Raka returned to the village, unaware that this meeting would change his life forever. The next day, Raka woke up with an enthusiastic spirit. He couldn't wait to return to the dark forest and meet Guntur. After breakfast, he hurried to the forest, bringing more food to share with the giant. In his heart, Raka felt that today would mark the beginning of an extraordinary adventure. After a short journey, Raka arrived at the open area where he had met Guntur the day before. He called out, "Guntur, I'm here." Raka's voice echoed among the trees, and soon after, Guntur appeared from behind the bushes, his face beaming with joy. "Raka, you came!" Guntur greeted him happily, his deep voice causing the ground to tremble slightly. Raka smiled widely and took out the food he had brought, saying, "I brought some food. Let's eat together." Guntur looked very pleased. They sat on the soft grass and Raka began to share the food. They exchanged stories about their lives. Raka talked about his family, his friends, and the little adventures he had in the village. Meanwhile, Guntur shared about his life in the forest, how he took care of the woods and the animals around him. As time passed, the bond between Raka and Guntur grew stronger. Raka felt comfortable being near Guntur, and Guntur was happy to have a friend who was not afraid of him. They laughed, played, and explored the forest together. Raka even started teaching Guntur some children's games, and Guntur enthusiastically tried them all. However, beyond their happiness, something was lurking. In the village, news about the giant living in the forest began to spread. Some villagers who heard stories from other children started to feel worried and scared. They viewed Guntur as a threat and planned to drive him out of the forest. One afternoon, while Raka and Guntur were playing, Raka heard a commotion coming from the village. He saw a group of adults gathered, speaking in serious tones. Raka sensed that something was wrong and quickly ran towards the village to find out. In the midst of the crowd, Raka heard an old man shouting, "We can't let that giant roam around. He must be dangerous. We have to drive him out before it's too late." Raka felt his heart race. He knew that Guntur was not dangerous, but how could he convince the village? Raka tried to speak up. "Wait! Guntur is not dangerous. He's my friend." However, his voice was drowned out by the commotion. The villagers grew increasingly panicked and were determined to take action. Raka felt trapped between two worlds, one where he had a good friend and another where that friend was seen as a threat. With a sense of urgency, Raka ran back to the forest, searching for Guntur. He knew he had to protect Guntur from the villagers' malicious plans. When he found Guntur, Raka quickly recounted what had happened in the village. "Guntur, they want to drive you away. We have to do something," Raka said, panting. Guntur looked confused and a bit sad. "But I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want to live peacefully here." Raka grasped Guntur's hand. "We will find a way to explain everything. I won't let them hurt you." With strong determination, Raka and Guntur prepared to face the challenges ahead. They knew that their friendship would be tested, and they had to fight to protect each other. Raka thought hard. He knew they needed to do something that could change the villagers' perspective. "What if we invite them here? We can show them that you are kind and not dangerous," Raka suggested. Guntur looked hesitant. "But if they come and see me, they might panic and attack me." "No, we will do it safely. I will talk to them and explain everything. We just need one chance," Raka assured Guntur. After discussing, they agreed to invite some villagers to come to the forest. Raka felt excited, but also anxious. He knew this was a risky step, but he believed that their friendship could change everything. The next day, Raka returned to the village with determination. He sought out a few close friends like Sari and Budi, whom he trusted to help. "Sari, Budi, I need your help. We have to invite people to come to the forest and see Guntur," Raka said enthusiastically. Sari and Budi exchanged glances, looking uncertain. "But Raka, what if they don't want to? They are already very scared," Sari said. "If we don't try, we will never know. Guntur is our friend, and we have to help him," Raka replied confidently. Finally, Sari and Budi agreed to help Raka. They began spreading the word in the village, inviting people to come to the forest and see Guntur. Raka hoped that by seeing Guntur in person, the villagers would change their views. The long-awaited day arrived. Raka, Guntur, Sari and Budi waited in the open area of the forest. Raka felt nervous, but he tried to stay calm. "Remember, we have to be kind and patient. If they see Guntur in a positive light, they might understand," Raka said to Guntur. Guntur nodded, although his face showed a hint of fear. "I will do my best," he replied. As the villagers began to arrive, Raka felt the tension in the air. Some people looked hesitant and anxious, while others appeared angry. Raka stood in front of Guntur, trying to calm everyone down. "Thank you for coming. We want to show you that Guntur is not dangerous. He is my friend," Raka shouted, his voice trembling. However, not everyone in the village agreed. An old man, known as Pak Jaya, stepped forward with a serious expression. "Raka, you don't know what you're doing. That giant could attack us. We must drive him away before it's too late," he shouted. Raka felt his heart race. "But Pak Jaya, Guntur doesn't want to hurt anyone. He just wants to live peacefully here." Raka tried to explain. Guntur, who overheard the conversation, felt stressed. He didn't want to scare the people. I don't want to hurt anyone, I just want to be friends, Guntur said softly, but his voice echoed among the crowd. Some villagers began to whisper, looking uncertain. However, Partjaya remained insistent. We cannot trust the giant. We must protect our village. Raka felt desperate. He knew they had to fight to prove that Guntur was not dangerous. Please give us a chance. Let's prove that Guntur is a friend, Raka shouted, hoping to touch the hearts of the villagers. But the tension escalated, and Raka felt that this situation could end badly. He had to find a way to convince the villagers before it was too late. With burning determination, Raka promised himself to protect Guntur, no matter what happened. After Raka expressed his determination to protect Guntur, the atmosphere in the village square grew even tenser. The villagers began to whisper among themselves, and Raka could sense the uncertainty in the air. Guntur stood beside him, looking anxious and uncomfortable with the attention directed at him. Raka, I don't want to cause trouble. Maybe it's better if I leave, Guntur said, his voice trembling. Raka looked at Guntur with confidence. No, Guntur, we can't give up. We have to show them that you are not dangerous, Raka insisted, trying to reassure his friend. However, Partjaya's voice rang out again. We cannot let this giant roam in our village. He could attack us at any moment. His voice was filled with fear and anger, and some villagers began to nod in agreement. Raka felt his heart race. But Guntur has proven that he is good. He has never hurt anyone, Raka shouted, trying to convince the crowd. Enough! We cannot take the risk, Partjaya shouted again, and the crowd began to move, with some people starting to grab farming tools and simple weapons to prepare for Guntur. Seeing the situation worsening, Raka ran forward, facing the crowd. Wait! If you attack Guntur, you are also attacking me. I won't let you hurt my good friend, Raka shouted courageously. Guntur, feeling pressured, began to step back. Raka, maybe it's time for me to go. I don't want to see you get hurt, he said softly, but Raka refused to listen. No, we will face this together, Raka insisted, trying to hold Guntur back from leaving. As the crowd drew closer, Raka felt a deep fear. He knew that if Guntur left, he would lose the friend he had fought for. In a moment filled with emotion, Raka shouted, Who among you dares to challenge us? Guntur is a friend, and I will protect him. Raka's voice echoed among the trees, and some villagers fell silent, surprised by the courage of the young boy. However, Partjaya did not back down. We cannot let this giant stay here. We must drive him out, he shouted again, and some people began to move forward. Raka felt desperate. He knew that if Guntur was attacked, everything would end badly. In that moment, he remembered all the beautiful memories he had with Guntur, and he knew he could not let fear overcome their friendship. If you want to attack Guntur, you have to go through me first, Raka shouted, standing firm in front of Guntur, ready to protect his friend. Seeing Raka's bravery, some villagers began to hesitate. They did not want to hurt this brave little boy. Raka, you don't understand. He could be dangerous, shouted one villager. But he is not dangerous. He just wants to live in peace. If you attack, you will make a big mistake, Raka replied, his voice filled with emotion. In the rising tension, Guntur finally spoke, his voice deep and resonant. Please, don't attack Raka. He is the best friend I have ever had. I don't want to hurt anyone. If you want me to leave, I will go, but I will not harm anyone. The atmosphere in the square began to change. Some villagers started to feel doubt and empathy. Raka looked at Guntur, and in that moment, he knew they had to fight for their friendship. If you cannot accept Guntur, then I will not stay in this village, Raka insisted, staring at the crowd with courage. With mixed feelings, the villagers began to back down, and the tension in the air started to ease. Raka and Guntur stood side by side, ready to face whatever would come. After Raka expressed his determination to protect Guntur, the atmosphere in the village square grew even tenser. The villagers began to debate, with some supporting Raka and Guntur, while others remained steadfast in their stance to drive the giant away. Raka felt the uncertainty in the air, and he knew that time was running out. "If we don't act now, Guntur will leave, and I can't let that happen," Raka shouted, trying to grab everyone's attention. "He is my good friend, and he is not dangerous." However, Park Jaya's voice echoed again. "We cannot trust that giant. He could attack us at any moment." His voice was filled with fear and anger, causing some villagers to panic even more. Raka felt desperate. He knew that Guntur would never hurt anyone, but how could he convince people who were trapped in their fear? In his heart, Raka prayed that they could see the goodness in Guntur. Seeing Raka struggle for him, Guntur felt touched. "Raka, I don't want you to be in danger. Maybe it's better if I leave," he said softly, though his heart was breaking. "No, Guntur, don't go. We can prove that you are not dangerous," Raka insisted, but Guntur was already starting to step back, feeling that he was the source of the problem. Suddenly, Raka had an idea. "What if we hold a challenge? If Guntur can show that he is not dangerous, then you must accept him," Raka shouted, hoping this would catch the villagers' attention. Some villagers fell silent, and Park Jaya looked at Raka skeptically. "What kind of challenge do you mean?" he asked. "Let Guntur demonstrate his ability to help us. We can hold a race or a task that shows his goodness," Raka replied enthusiastically. After some discussion, the villagers agreed to give Guntur a chance. They decided to hold a challenge where Guntur would have to help complete several tasks typically done by the villagers. If Guntur succeeded, they would consider allowing him to stay. Raka and Guntur prepared for the challenge. The first task was to collect water from a river located deep in the forest. Raka knew that Guntur had incredible strength, and he was confident that Guntur could do it easily. When they arrived at the river, Guntur carefully picked up several large buckets and began filling them with water. The villagers watching from a distance looked surprised at how gently Guntur handled the buckets. He worked quickly and efficiently, and Raka felt proud. After completing the first task, they moved on to the second task, which was to help the farmers lift their harvest. Guntur happily assisted, lifting bags filled with rice and vegetables with ease. The villagers began to see a different side of Guntur, and some of them started whispering to each other. However, as Guntur lifted the last sack, suddenly one of the sacks fell and spilled its contents. A few grains of rice flew towards the crowd, and a small child fell down, frightened. Seeing this, Guntur immediately knelt down and tried to calm the child, but this action only made the villagers panic even more. "Look, he's attacking that child," someone shouted, and the crowd began to run away. Raka felt his heart break. "No, Guntur isn't attacking, he just wants to help," Raka shouted, but his voice was drowned out by the commotion. Guntur, feeling very sad and confused, said, "Maybe I really should leave. I don't want to cause any more trouble." With that, Guntur began to back away, ready to leave the village and Raka behind. Raka couldn't let that happen. With all his courage, he ran towards Guntur and grabbed his hand. "No, Guntur, I won't let them drive you away. We will find a way to make them understand." With burning determination, Raka and Guntur prepared to face a greater challenge. They knew that their friendship would be tested, and they had to fight to protect each other from fear and prejudice. After Raka expressed his determination to protect Guntur, the atmosphere in the village square grew tenser. Some villagers began to argue, and the voices of discontent grew louder. Raka stood in front of Guntur, trying to calm the increasingly panicked crowd. "Listen to me," Raka shouted, trying to get everyone's attention. "Guntur is not a monster. He is my good friend. He has never hurt anyone." However, Mr. Jaya's voice rang out again. "We can't take the risk. We must protect our village from threats." Raka felt desperate, but he knew he had to fight harder. If you drive Guntur away, you're also driving me away. I won't stay in the village if Guntur goes, Raka asserted, his voice full of emotion. In the midst of the tension, Sari, Raka's friend, stood up and said, "Wait, we all know that Guntur has never done anything wrong. Let's give him a chance to prove that he is not dangerous." Some villagers began to fall silent, contemplating Sari's words. Raka saw hope in his friend's eyes. "We can hold a meeting. Let's invite Guntur to share his story. If he is truly dangerous, we can take action, but if not, we must learn to accept our differences." Finally, after a moment of debate, the villagers agreed to give Guntur a chance. Raka and Sari invited Guntur to speak in front of the crowd. Guntur, although still feeling anxious, stood beside Raka and Sari. "Thank you for giving me a chance," Guntur began to speak softly. "I don't want to hurt anyone. I just want to live peacefully in this forest. I take care of the animals and plants here. I have never tried to disturb the village." The villagers listened attentively. Guntur continued, "I know I look scary, but I just want to be friends. Raka is my first friend, and I value him very much." After hearing Guntur's story, some villagers began to feel sympathy. They saw that the giant was not the monster they had imagined. Slowly, the atmosphere in the square began to change. Some people started whispering to each other, and the faces that had once shown fear now displayed curiosity. Mr. Jaya, who had initially been very opposed, finally said, "Perhaps we have misjudged. We should learn to know each other before making decisions." Raka felt relieved to hear those words. "Let's all try to get to know each other. We can learn a lot from one another." With courage and understanding, Raka, Guntur, and the villagers began to build a bridge between them. Guntur was invited to stay in the village and help the villagers in various ways. He assisted them with farming, tended to the gardens, and even taught the children about the forest. As time passed, the villagers' fear of Guntur began to fade. They learned that friendship could blossom despite differences. Raka and Guntur became a symbol of strong friendship, teaching everyone that courage and understanding could overcome fear. The next day, while they were working, a loud rumble suddenly echoed from the direction of the forest. A large bear appeared, rampaging and threatening the villagers. Everyone panicked and ran, but Guntur stood firm, ready to protect his friends. "Guntur, be careful!" Raka shouted, but Guntur was already moving quickly. With incredible bravery, Guntur faced the bear. He did not attack but tried to scare the bear away with loud noises and impressive movements. The villagers were amazed to see Guntur fighting the bear. In an instant, Guntur managed to drive the bear away without harming the creature. After the bear left, the atmosphere in the village changed. The villagers began to applaud, and Raka felt a new sense of hope. "He's not a monster, he's a hero," shouted one of the villagers. Raka smiled widely, seeing how Guntur was accepted by the villagers. "We can live together," Raka shouted, and cheers began to echo throughout the village. With courage and understanding, Raka and Guntur had proven that their friendship could overcome fear and prejudice. However, new challenges still awaited them ahead. Mr. Jaya, the old man who had been the most vocal against Guntur, stepped forward. In a calmer voice, he said, "Perhaps we have misjudged. Guntur is not only big but also brave and kind-hearted." Raka felt hope beginning to grow in his heart. "He just wants to live peacefully here, just like us. Let's give him a chance." Sari, one of Raka's friends, added, "We can learn a lot from Guntur. He knows how to take care of the forest and the animals around it." With newfound courage, Raka stepped closer to Guntur. "Guntur, would you talk to them? Maybe if they hear your story, they will understand." Guntur looked hesitant, but Raka encouraged him. "You're not alone. I'm here with you." Finally, Guntur nodded and stepped forward. His deep and gentle voice echoed among the villagers. "I don't want to hurt anyone. All this time I just wanted to protect the forest and the creatures within it. I never meant to scare you." The villagers began to listen, and some of them appeared moved by Guntur's words. Raka could see that their fear was slowly being replaced by curiosity. After Guntur finished speaking, Raka took the opportunity to continue. We can work together. Guntur can help us protect the village and the forest. We can learn to respect and understand each other. Mr. Jaya nodded, and several other villagers began to speak up. Maybe we can hold regular meetings where Guntur can share his knowledge about the forest. Raka felt a new sense of hope rising. Yes, we can be friends. Let's start by inviting Guntur for dinner in the village. We can get to know each other better. With renewed enthusiasm, the villagers began to approach Guntur, offering hands of friendship. Guntur, who initially felt awkward, started to smile. Raka felt a deep happiness, seeing how fear and prejudice were slowly fading away. That day, the village and Guntur began to build a bridge between two previously separated worlds. Raka knew that this was the beginning of a friendship that would change their lives forever. As time went on, Guntur began to interact more with the villagers. He helped them in various ways, such as protecting the fields from pests and assisting in building houses. The villagers, who had once been afraid, now began to see Guntur as part of their community. Raka and Guntur often played together, exploring the forest and sharing stories. They became a symbol of strong friendship, showing that differences should not be a barrier to understanding one another. At the end of the story, Raka stood in the middle of the village, surrounded by his friends and Guntur. He raised his voice. "We are all different, but that doesn't mean we can't be friends. Let's learn to appreciate and understand each other." The villagers cheered in agreement, and Guntur smiled widely, feeling the love and acceptance from the people around him. The story concludes with Raka and Guntur walking together in the forest, laughing and sharing their dreams. They knew that their friendship would continue to grow, and that they had built a bridge between two different worlds. With hearts full of hope, Raka and Guntur moved forward, ready to face new adventures together, reminding us all that with courage and understanding, we can overcome fear and build lasting friendships.